Welcome to the Pick and Brains podcast. This is episode 5, and it's going to be the first one I end up doing on my own. It's a bit mad. I'm a little bit nervous, actually. I don't know if I can talk for... I'm aiming for about 45 minutes. We'll see. Might get half an hour, might get 25 minutes. Let's find out. But yeah, this one's going to be on my own, and it's going to be about the lessons I learned in 2020. 2020 was a weird year for everyone. I mean, we're still in the middle of the pandemic now. This is early 2021. In the UK, the vaccine's being rolled out, a couple of vaccines being rolled out, and now we're hopefully coming to the end of it. But at the start, it was crazy because who knew what was going to go on? Like, no one could have predicted there'd be a global pandemic. And like, the thing is, I imagine a lot of people didn't really know what to expect. I mean, a lot of people thought that the pandemic was going to end like a few weeks in, which is mad. Like, I don't even remember what I thought now. I didn't think it'd last a year for sure. I thought it'd last a few months, but no, this is crazy. Like, as in how everything is and how it is now, and like how we've adapted to this new normal. I was literally watching a film with one of my housemates, and I can't remember what film it was now, but there was a setting where there was like a lot of people, like there was a lot of people in like one area, and it was making me feel a bit uncomfortable. And then my roommate was like, why aren't they wearing masks? And then like you forget about these things. That's the new normal, right? Which is mad, the way people have like adapted to that. Like that mindset now is crazy, because that's how we look at things. We look at things in a COVID filled way. And I remember watching I think it was like some sort of like club video or something. Like, I can't remember as to why I was watching it. But anyway, it was a setting where there was a lot of people in a nightclub. It may have been Budapest, actually. I think I was watching something from Budapest. I can't really remember. But there was a club, and then I was just like, I was worried about how many people were in one setting. You don't realize about all these things that you look back on now. It's crazy, like how that all looks. But man, I already went on a tangent on 2 minutes in, but whatever. I like tangents. So we're 4 episodes deep now in the Pick and Brains podcast, and I really need reviews. So if you guys are enjoying it, please give a 5-star review. If not, DM me. Give me your feedback, even if it's bad. Just give me your feedback. That's the only way to learn, right? So I'm getting better as things go on, I'd like to think, with each episode. But the thing is, with all these things, you just got to start it. And anything that you want to do, you just start it, and then you course correct along the way. Something I learned from a quote from Tim Ferriss, I think, who did the 4-Hour Work Week. I've not even read that yet. I really, really want to read that. But yeah, that's what it is. Just start something and then course correct. And that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast now. So please give me feedback. Go into the Apple, I think it's Apple Podcasts where you leave reviews. I'm not sure if you can do it on Spotify. I didn't think you can. Maybe I'm wrong, but if you can leave a review on Spotify, please leave a review on Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, please leave a comment or a like and share it. But yeah, I really need reviews, guys. So please just literally take 2 minutes out of your day, just write something. Hopefully it's 5 stars. And if not, just give me some feedback. I'm available on pickin_brains_pod, which is the Pick and Brains podcast Instagram page, and also Harry Singh Pro on Instagram. Just DM me. I will literally read every DM, I think, even if it's in my request. Even if I don't follow you, I'll go into my request and I'll probably read that as well. So request is a weird place as well. There is some weird people on there, but you know, I still read them. It's entertaining. I also bought a blender this week. Look, I'm really excited about this. Like, I bought so this will benefit the watchers on YouTube because they can see it. But yeah, I bought a blender and I'm quite excited about it because I used to work in a smoothie bar, and I wanted a blender for so long because I'm getting sick of the taste of protein shakes. Like, I'm currently on banana and milk is what I was having for so long, and it tastes horrible. And I don't like my protein shakes with water either. So yeah, now I bought a smoothie mate blend smoothie. I bought a blender, so yeah. Right, 5 minutes and I've already waffled. Let me just take a sip of my smoothie. Okay, right. So let's get into it. Some of the lessons that I learned in 2020. I don't really know how to structure this. Let's just start with like January and then see what happens. Like as I talk, I feel like I've got my notes here in terms of what I've learned and things like that, and I'm just gonna, hopefully they just come naturally. I don't have to bring them up, but yeah, let's just get into it. So there was January, and that was everything was fairly normal at that point. No one really suspect. I think the news came out that there was coronavirus in Wuhan at the time. I think, well, that's where it originated, but I think the news was starting to circulate there, where it was just like a big thing. It was a big thing, but I didn't think anyone in the UK, or like majority of people in the world, probably didn't think that it would come to their country. It just like, oh, it's like a big thing in China. It's the same as the Ebola disease, right? There was like there was a lot of commotion about that when it first started, and then no one ever thought that it would come to them, and it didn't. Probably didn't. I don't know where you're listening, but yeah, it probably did not. And I think people thought the same thing about the coronavirus. Like it was a big thing in China, and then everyone thought, oh, that's a big thing, but then no one really thought that it would affect them in any way. They would just go out their day to day. But that was what was circulating. But the thing is, what I knew even at that time it wasn't really COVID related, but the main thing that I've always tried to live by is just to do whatever makes you happy. Do all the wholesome things that can make you happy. Like if your work isn't that great, like you don't get that satisfaction from work, make sure you're doing stuff outside of that to make sure that you're happy. You know what I mean? So for example, things I was doing in January, I think the very first thing, obviously New Year's and stuff like that, spending time with my family, that was pretty cool. But then not long after that, I went to Budapest with two of my best friends, and we had like it was fairly spur of the moment. Like we didn't book it much in advance, maybe like 3 weeks in advance. And then one of my friends came very last minute, and it turned out to be one of the best trips we ever had. Like literally, I think we only went for maybe 3 or 4 days, but during that time we had some of the best times. They can attest to it as well, because it was amazing. And the thing is that, to me, so I'm very into like travel and things like that, like going out, and then just even random weekend trips or just going away. Like I just feel so much better when I just feel so much better where the sun is. And even in Budapest, there wasn't even the sun. It was cold as it was very, very cold. And I think it was like minus weather as well. But the thing is, what the pleasure that I get from traveling is that I'm doing the things that I love and things like that. And like, the thing is, some of the sites that I saw there, like we went up to the castle, and then we could see like a really nice view. It was like a really nice viewpoint of Budapest. There was like why can I not remember the name of that bridge? That's gonna kill me. I saw that there's like this really famous bridge in Budapest. Oh my god, I can't believe I don't remember it. That's really annoying. No, I can't remember. But basically, it's the bridge that ties Buda and Pest together. And there is a name to it, but I can't remember it. But we saw that, and it was all lit up, and the rest of the city was just in lights. It's such a beautiful sight. It's ridiculous. Then just feelings like that, you can't get. Like, I mean, me personally, I can't get that living in England, because I don't know what it is. There's so much more beauty in traveling than there is just staying in like your house for however many days. And the thing is, you can be in your house the rest of the month, for example. That was my mindset. Like I could be in my flat anytime I want to be, but going out and traveling, then just a few days for a weekend, long weekend. I think I spent 4 days there. I had some of the best times, and now that was probably my highlight of 2020, being able to do that. I went to a few more places. I'll talk about it a little bit more, but I would say that was my highlight of 2020, being able to do that with a couple of my friends. We went to so many places in Budapest, and it's an amazing thing. So if you can go and travel, just do it. Like, what is the worst thing that's going to happen if you try and do it with a couple of your friends? You know what I mean? Worst comes to worst, they say no. And I've been like, the amount of times that I'll say to my friends, let's just go somewhere, and they won't be down. But the thing is, it's such a cool thing to do, because as I said, that was the highlight of my 2020, just a few days away. And what does it matter? Like, it'll cost you a little bit, like a few £100 maybe. Like, I don't think we spent more than £500, and that was between 3 of us. So literally just go and you'll have a great time. I guarantee it. Even if you're going on your own, just go. I guarantee you'll have a really good time. So those are things like I love so much. But yeah. What else did I do in January? I also went to, I graduated. I graduated not long after that. I finished my degree, and I did a graduation ceremony. That was pretty cool. But I won't really go into that. Graduations are important. I think a lot of people know why. It's not really anything that I need to explain. But yeah, it was cool. And then after that, I went to go and see James Smith. He's a famous PT on Instagram. He did a talk in London regarding his first book, Not a Diet Book. Great book. I learned so much from that as well, just about the importance of sleep. I think there's better books on that, like Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, I think. I spoke about it with Tom Bailey, so if you're interested in that book, go and check it out. He's read it. I spoke very, very briefly about that, but I think that's what it is. But anyway, yeah, Not a Diet Book teaches you so many habits that you can make better. Like you can make so many of your own habits better to help yourself. Like the reason why it's called Not a Diet Book is because it is aimed at like people who want to lose weight and people and things like that. It's more about your body, but there's more to dieting than it is actual food. There's other elements of your life that you need to look at to make sure that you're successful when you're trying these things. And one of them was sleep, getting adequate amounts of sleep, making sure how much you're moving and things like that. Like obviously that's a given with any diet, but the importance of that, like doing stuff outside of like the gym and like your actual like exercise. Like I'm not saying like go running or do anything like that, but what I'm saying is like go for like those random walks. And in lockdown, I'm sure a lot of people have upped their walking, but do you not find that doing that makes you think in a different way, right? Like I feel like you make things, you can think a lot more clearer than what you would usually. Like that happens with the gym as well, and even when you're running. But I feel like that's when your creative side can really come out. I know that helps me, like just either walking with a podcast or walking with music or walking with an audiobook or even walking without anything. Like today, I didn't walk without any music or anything like that because I wanted to see how creative my mind could get with loads of things. And I think I get some of my best ideas with wrestling with that. I get some of my best ideas in terms of, I think starting this podcast was one of them, maybe. I'm not sure, but whether or not that's a good idea, I'm yet to find out yet. But I think just going out and doing that walk, having that own time to just really be in your own head, I think is really, really cool. And I think you can get so creative with that and you can come up with some of your best ideas. I personally think that that's really helped me, but that was one of them. That was one of the things in the book. There's loads of stuff that he covered, and I won't go into each bit, but I'd recommend it for sure. There's loads of little things like I'll give you one more example before we move on. So I was just saying earlier that the sun, like it makes me feel better, and I'm sure it makes a lot of other people feel better. But a big thing of that, as to why it makes you feel better, is the vitamin D, right? And now I've started supplementing vitamin D a little bit more. My skin's a little bit darker than the average person in the UK, I imagine. And that's why I need more vitamin D, right? Like I try and take a tablet every day because little things like that make you feel so much better, and it's good for osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is essentially when your bones start getting weaker as you get older. I couldn't tell you the exact science of it, but it's prevented with like vitamin D, calcium, things like that. So very good. I'd recommend it. But yeah, definitely give that a read. And then I actually went to go and see the Jonas Brothers as well. And a lot of people are like, oh, did you go with like somebody who wanted to go? No. I went because I wanted to. I'm a really big fan of the Jonas Brothers. But I won't go into the details of that. But yeah, it was fun. One of my favorite bands. Don't at me. Go on. No, I think I'll probably get a lot of shit for that. But yeah, fuck it. But doing all of that in the space of 1 month, really, like, obviously I didn't know COVID was coming. I didn't know how it would affect us either, but I'm so glad I did that. Like in 1 month's worth of stuff, obviously the dates aligned to be in January, but in 1 month's worth of like, whatever it is, in 1 month, I managed to do so many things that I loved and enjoyed. Like, and I don't think a lot of people got to do that. And that's not me saying that I was very lucky, but at the same time, that's not me bragging about what I've done. I did that before COVID, whatever. But what I'm saying is, if you really want to do it, just do it. Like, there's so many things that I think hold people back. Like, there's so many limiting beliefs that people have, like, oh, I can't do this, can't do that. I just did all the stuff that I enjoyed, and I get that people have responsibilities and things like that. I'm fairly responsibility free. I think that's the way I've kind of constructed my life. I do have some very important ones, but at the same time, I try and make sure I do stuff that I want to do all the time. And I think for the most part, that's why I remain quite happy. Just try and do stuff that you care about. How much do you wish, looking back on your January now, how much do you wish you did something rather than like being sad that Christmas is over, being sad that the weather's shit, like loads of things like that. There's so many, like, January is such a shit time for a lot of people. I think on record it's like the most depressing month or whatever, but I had a great time last year, and that's purely because I just did stuff that I wanted to do. And if it's not events or traveling or anything like that, do all the other stuff. Like, not even for your New Year's resolution. Like, okay, for example, a lot of people say that they want to start reading, they want to start meditating, they want to start going to the gym. All of that you could have done in January, and I'm sure you did. Maybe some people did it for like a week because that's how long their New Year's resolutions last. So bitter, but no. But a lot of people do that, right? Like, they only do it for so long, but you can do that for the whole month if you put it into practice properly. And if those are the things you enjoy, that can take you out of your stressful 9 to 5. Just do that for a little bit, and I'm sure you would feel so much better. And even if it's not that, even if it's going to go and see your friend, like anything like that, like, oh, I'll do it next month, oh, I'll do it next week, whatever. Just do it, plan it out, get it done, and you'll feel so much better for it. Just do the things that are important to you, and I guarantee you'll feel so much better. That was something that I kind of already knew before 2020, but I think 2020 really enforced my point on that. You have to do the stuff that you love to do. Don't just push it to one side. And a lot of people neglect their own self-love and whatever that is. I don't really think about it like that. It's just more so I know I feel better when I've done the stuff I love, and you can make time for it. It's all a matter of priorities. Like, everyone says, oh, I don't have time to do this next thing. Oh, I don't have time to do that. You do have time for it. It's a matter of priorities at the end of it. Like, I don't have time to go gym. Are you telling me you don't have an hour in your day to go to the gym? Like, okay, all right, let's include the time of how far it is to your gym. Odds are it couldn't be any further than 15 minutes, right? Like, drive, walk, whatever. I walk 40 minutes to my gym and then train and whatever. Overall, it takes me, it's like a 3-hour process, but it's something I prioritize highly. And I think a lot of wrestlers do, but the average person, I think when people say they don't have time, you 100% have time to do it. You, like, as I said, it may be 15 minutes drive there, 15 minutes drive back, an hour there. You don't actually have to do this every day either. 3 days a week, however much time you can commit to something, just commit to it, right? And you can do it. You have the time to do so. Like, it is just a matter of priorities. And I'm sure you can squeeze that in at some point. But again, I went off another tangent. But little things like that, I mean, just make sure you get that done, because it's all a matter of priorities, and it's just a matter of prioritizing what you love to do. And I think that was one big thing that I learned in January. Then February, pretty much the same as January, just try and do the stuff that you love to do. At the time I went to Milan. That was for a work thing though, so I couldn't say that it was something that I 100% enjoyed. But going to chill with my other work colleagues and going to see Milan was also pretty cool. At that point I was scheduling a trip for March, trying to go somewhere in March, and I think I ended up booking I booked Tampa with my dad at the time to go and see WrestleMania. So I was still in the mindset, yeah, let's just go places. Let's just go everywhere you can. And I'm glad I had that. I mean, a lot of stuff got cancelled, which I'll get into. But yeah, at the time I was still planning for the next month or the rest of the year. And then I would say around that time, not too long after, I had my last match. I say my last match, but that was one of the last matches before COVID. At the time, I was still wrestling as well. I was still trying to wrestle every week because that was something that I love to do as well. So I'm still prioritizing all the things that I love to do. And I was having a great year. It was fine. Like I think at the time everyone was like, oh, I need 2020 to be a restart from 2019. But everyone was having like a weird year in 2019 as well. But looking back on it, how good was it? you can't, like, that was another thing as well. I didn't want to reminisce on the past. 2019, I probably had the best summer ever, like the best summer. I went to like 7 countries, I think. So it was I went to Barcelona, came back, went to Algarve, like literally the next day. Then I went to Malta to go and wrestle, went to Canada the month after, Toronto, went to Dubai, then went to Amsterdam, and then went to San Diego, like literally all in the space of a few months. But as much as I reminisce on that and things, like, I don't look back in a sad way thinking, oh, I wish I had that again, because one, if I want it, I'll create it for myself again. And hopefully I'll get to do like some sort of traveling in the future, which I'm planning to do. But I don't look back on that and think, oh, that was so good, I wish I appreciated more. And in some ways I do think like, oh, I would love to go back. But at the same time, it's just look to the opportunities ahead, right? That was my mindset in February. Like, look at everything that you can do this year. So I planned out so much. Like, I planned out Krakow in Poland. I planned out Tampa. Then I was going to go to Philadelphia. Then I was going to go to where else was I going to go? Bali. I think I planned out a few more places as well, you know. I just can't remember it all now. But the thing is, that was one thing that I love to do. So I was going to make sure that I was going to travel like as much as I could. So that was one thing I was planning for. And rather than looking back and thinking, oh, I wish I could do that, I was like, okay, this is what I can do in the future to make myself happy and things like that. Ensure that I'm getting that kind of feeling. Maybe not so much chasing that feeling from 2019, just creating new memories for myself, right? That was my mindset at that time. And then how did I get on that from wrestling? I was still wrestling every weekend, and I was loving that as well. But yeah, then I finally got my first win at a company that I love, Wrestling Resurgence, and that was like an incredible feeling. People getting up in the crowd congratulating me, like literally standing. It wasn't a whole standing ovation. I wish it was. But yeah, no, I had my first win, and it was crazy. Literally one of some of those moments are the reason why I wrestle. Like I can put the clip in when I put this on Instagram, but literally when I got that win, it was like the best feeling ever. Like it felt like my work finally paid off. And although the match was the people that follow my career, the match wasn't supposed to be what it was, but I'm quite happy with it. There was a lot to improve, but yeah, that was incredible. One thing I loved in 2020 as well, for sure. But yeah, and then we got onto coronavirus. One sec, let me before I start this, let me take a sip of water. Okay. Yeah, so then coronavirus hit, and then that was the big shock to everybody. I don't know exactly how to go about this. I don't know whether to explain. Like, there was a lot of negatives, for sure. I think there were many, many negatives in terms of our whole lives the lives that we knew and constructed and things like that have all changed. I was very lucky, right? Because I went to, in lockdown 1, I went to my sister's house. She lives with her fiance. And during that time, as I said, I won't go into the negatives of coronavirus. We all know what that was. A lot of people were lonely, and like they were spending that time on their own. And like, I'll get into alone versus aloneness later. But yeah, anyway, let me continue. Yeah, so I went to my sister's house, and me and her have not lived together since we were kids. Basically, I think so. When I went to university, which was in 2016. That was the real last time that we lived together, because she went to uni prior to that. So it's been like a good few years. So I'm 24 now, and I didn't think we lived together properly up until like when I was 12, 13, 14 at most. So it's been at least 10 years since we've lived together. So with that, I think you are going to have teething problems, and we argued like a lot to begin with, mainly because we've changed the way we live a lot. Both of us have changed the way we live, we both have different, like, I think now we've understood each other a little bit more. But what I want to really dive into here is the importance of that time with your family, or that time with anybody that you care about. So the wrestler's mindset, it's changed a little bit now, but the wrestler's mindset and the mindset I had was, you can make it on your own. You can do everything on your own, and you are going to have to make sacrifices to do so. Like, and sacrifices include family events, friends events, loads of things like that, just so you can make it to a show, go and help out at a show, even literally just anything to further your career, you have to make sacrifices for. And to a degree, I 100% agree with that. You are going to have to make sacrifices to make sure that you get to some sort of level. But I think with speaking out and other things that we've seen in the wrestling world now, and how wrestling actually is, you've got to take that time outside of wrestling and outside of your passion to really understand that there's more to life outside of it. And it may sound obvious to like a lot of people, there's more to life than your actual passion, but the wrestler's mindset is, that is all you need to focus on, because you dedicate 100% of your time into that, you will make it. It's all about the time that you put in and things like that. And I get that. I 100% get that. And in many ways I stand by it, but I think you have to invest in your life outside of your passion. And that was something that I learned, a big thing in 2020. I would say I had a really, really big setback. I was so upset about not being able to wrestle, having opportunities that have basically been cancelled now. I felt like I was on a roll, and especially with gyms closing as well, everything in the wrestling world I felt just stopped for me. I felt so upset about it. And then I was like, what do I have? What do I have outside of that? Who am I outside of being a wrestler? And I think I learned so much in 2020 that helped shape me. Like, the importance of spending time with your loved ones. As I said, I didn't spend time with my sister like that for 10 years. And now, like, although we had teething problems, I'd say like we're like basically best friends. Like, so very, very close now, basically. And I wouldn't have had that without coronavirus. And it's a lesson I learned, like, to be able to just stop, reevaluate, and just really appreciate the things that you have outside of your passion. And I think that was just so important for me. Like, lockdown changed so much about who I am. Like, it was able to give me like a reflection on myself, and like how the trajectory of my wrestling career, like loads of things like that. I think having that time to think has just helped me so much. And I think a lot of people had that in COVID. They had that time to stop and reevaluate everything, reevaluate their career, reevaluate their home life, reevaluate their relationship. Everything like that got reevaluated, I think. And some may be positive, some may be negative, but I think people having that time was definitely a silver lining to COVID. And I wouldn't take that back for anything now. Like, I'm not necessarily glad that the pandemic happened, but what I am glad for is having that time to just stop, think, and just really have a look back at everything that I've done so far, how proud I am of that, but then also what kind of things did I miss outside of wrestling? And I think, excuse me, the things that I did outside of that, like, I started to pursue, I said a little bit more that I love travel, but now I've got such a deeper love for it. Like, and now I want to go and backpack to like Southeast Asia and things like that. I want to go and do all those crazy things, because during COVID, that all of that stopped. And obviously I also want to wrestle a lot now as well, but having that time to look back and really think about all this kind of stuff, just, it gave me a new avenue to think about all these different things that I love. And possibly, I think podcasting was a big thing, because I listened to a lot of podcasts. I've read a lot more books, for sure. I didn't pick up a book properly until last year, 2020. I didn't really I picked up books in like English, like class and things like that, like in school and stuff, but I never voluntarily read a book, and that really changed my life as well. I would say, I wouldn't say, well, yeah, I would say it changed my life, because now I actively read more books. Even when lockdown's finished, I want to read 6 months. I want to read 6 books every year. And that's not even that much. That's a book every 2 months. Completely doable. But going from 0 books to 6 books was a big improvement for me. And just those little things, like, they make they make your day-to-day so much better because you're implementing better habits, right? And that was another thing that I learned in 2020. Like, when people make their New Year's resolutions, they go all in. How many times have you said to yourself, in December, I'm going to get back in the gym in January? And then when they go to the gym, great, fantastic. You're going 3, 4, 5 times a week. And everything else that includes gym. So you're now saying you're cutting alcohol now out for 90 days or sober January, whatever. Vegan-wary because it's healthier, quote unquote. And just literally cutting everything out, like making those crazy, like making everything crazy, jumping from 0 to 100, right? So you go in gym, you've sorted, like, quote unquote, sorted your diet out. You've cut out all these things, you've cut out meat, whatever it is, right? You've made all these crazy changes. No wonder you're not sticking to your New Year's resolution. Everything in your life has just changed like that. You've got to make these things sustainable. That is 100% something that I learned in 2020. Rather than jumping straight at the deep end, James Smith did a good quote on this. So, put a frog in boiling water, it will jump out immediately because it's too hot. Put a frog in cold water, like normal water, but then slowly heat it even more to the point it's boiling. The frog will happily sit there because you're making all these changes. And the relevance to that is you're making all these changes, right? So first change you implement, you go to the gym. That's 3 times a week. You're enjoying it. Not much in your life has changed outside of that, right? That's the first step. Then you start sorting out your diet. So you start looking at your calories and things like that, your macronutrients, probably macronutrients for now. So you start looking at that next. Maybe that's after January. Maybe that's 4 weeks after that 4 week period. Now you start looking at that in February. Little changes like that will help you so much in terms of making something sustainable. How can you change your whole life for a matter of a month? Most people don't even make it to the end of that month. And sure, it is an achievement to do that. But then what happens in February once you've done your vegan-wary, your sober January? You're straight away, you're now going to go hit the booze again, or you're going to go get the largest meat platter you can get, right? What's the point in doing it for that long? Maybe that's the way I say it. I get the whole thing of cutting it out for however long. But let's say you're trying to go sober completely. Then you do that slowly rather than saying, from tomorrow I'm stopping drinking alcohol, and from tomorrow I'm stopping eating meat, whatever. Make these things sustainable rather than going straight to this is what works for me. It may work for other people as well, but this is my standpoint on it. Make small changes. So rather than going straight to meat, make something more plant-based, right? Plant-based diet does not necessarily mean you're vegan, right? Plant-based diet just means the majority of your food comes from plant-based sources, right? So rather than having red meat 5 times a week or white meat, however, meat, right? Rather than having meat 5 times a week, cut it down to 3 times a week, 2 times a week, whatever's sustainable for you. And that was something that I really, really learned in 2020. Just make things slowly more sustainable. And I think that happened with books. That happened for me. That happened with books. Like, so rather than saying I'm going to read a book every month, which was probably very possible for some people, and it's probably possible for me as well. But the way I looked at it was, if I'm going to make this sustainable, I don't want to put pressure on myself to do this. I could easily clock a book in 2 months, read one book, and then in 2 months you change to the next one. That was a sustainable thing for me. And now I'm starting to do the same with meditation and things like that, trying to do, I mean, it's a little bit more of an argument meditation, because the longer you do it, for the longer time you do it, that's when you start to receive the benefits. But to me, it's not easy for me to do one thing, like, for example, meditation, and sit there for half an hour and do it. I'd rather do it for 15 minutes, and then next step is 20 minutes, next step is half an hour, things like that. Like, just do things slowly, and then you'll find that these habits have built up so much that is now implemented in your lifestyle, rather than trying to make that change so drastically, and then odds are not completing it or not doing what you wanted to do, then that's what makes that unsustainable, right? Like, it's the same with the gyms, it's the same with anything. So just do things slowly. that's in my opinion anyway. Just do little chunks of it, but the important thing is you're maintaining the habit to do so. So if I've said to myself that I will read for half an hour a day, that's fine. Then I'll do half an hour a day. And if that's not working for me, 10 minutes a day or half an hour every other day. Just do things like that where you can make sure that you get make sure you make that into your habit, right? Wow. That was 10 minutes, I think. I did a whole 10 minutes on habits and we're only in March. I don't think I'm going to get through the whole year. But 1 second, let me have another sip of water. Sorry. Okay. And then April hit, and now I'm starting to really look back at my wrestling career. And to be honest, I thought when starting out, I started when I was 15, I say late 15 like it's such a old age, but no, it was I was just turning 16 at the time, and at that time if you asked me then, I would have been like, yeah, I'll be signed in like 6-7 years. Like, I was a very different person, but I also didn't really understand how long the process can be. I'm not saying this is for everyone, how long the process can be to become a wrestler. And it's a long road for some people, which is like, for what it seems like myself, but it's also a short road for others. And I was getting very frustrated. I was getting upset with how long this is taking. Like, how long is it going to take for me to do this full time? How long is it going to take for me to get those opportunities that I see other people with less time getting? And I was getting really, really frustrated with that. And I think that was really making wrestling like a horrible place for me to like want to be in. I didn't really want to be around it anymore because I was so sick of having to wait for my opportunity and things like that. I think one thing that I've changed now, but I was then, I felt like I was entitled to a lot of stuff. I felt like I was owed something, and it's a common thing in wrestling. And I think I've changed my mindset so much. Like, I'm not owed anything, like nothing. I do this because I love it. Wrestling doesn't owe me anything. And I felt, because I've spent X amount, like probably 8-9 years at that time, maybe a bit less, 7, 8, 9, whatever. However many long years doing what I'm doing, and then still not really getting anywhere. I was getting really, really frustrated with that. And as I said, that kind of takes that mental toll on you, because it's just like, oh, how long is this going to take? Like, am I doing the right things? I was just getting so sick of how things were. But then COVID hit, and then everything comes to a pause, as I mentioned, and you have that time to reflect on it. And then I realized something where I'm very lucky to be doing professional wrestling. I'm like, and that's not even just with wrestling. This could be with anything. If you're doing what you love and thinking about that every day, which is for me wrestling, travel, even podcasting to a degree, but I was lucky because I'm able to do that. I'm able to chase my dream. So many people don't even know they have a dream. Like, they don't know what to chase in life. And I felt very lucky with that. And the way I started looking at wrestling a little bit more is enjoy the process, and you'll just be so much happier for it. Like, enjoy the process, because becoming is better than being. A lot of my friends now, they're in WWE, which is, for what people don't know, was WWF. It's like it's the major pro wrestling organization, one of them now, right? And it's where I want to go to eventually. But people there now are now like, it's great and things like that, it's fantastic, but it's way more fun chasing it. And that's all I've had. Like, it's so much more fun chasing that dream rather than being in it. And that made so much more sense to me, because obviously when you're chasing it, it's more fun. There's no expectations of you. You're just doing what you love, no strings attached, and you're just loving every minute of it. And looking back on it, that's now what I want wrestling to be like. And this doesn't have to be, as I said, it doesn't have to be wrestling. Just enjoy the process of what's going on. Like, whatever you're in, just enjoy that process, because becoming is better than being. That was one of the biggest lessons I learned in 2020. Just enjoy the process, because you're never going to get this time again. Let's say you achieve it and things like that, Fantastic. I personally, in many ways, I couldn't think of anything better than that. That would be amazing just to achieve that goal. But looking back on it, you want to make sure you had a good time, right? You don't want to, I don't want to look back and think I was so bitter for so long because I deserved this or I wanted this or whatever it was. That's not a way to live. Like, I want to be way more positive when I get back to shows. I want to be happy to be around everyone. Like, that's the way I looked at it. I don't want to feel like I'm entitled to anything. And just being backstage at these shows, enjoying those road trips and things like that. This is all specific to me, or wrestlers in general. Enjoying the process of doing those 4 or 5 hour drives, doing those crazy commutes, being backstage at a shithole. Like, some of the backstages are terrible. Wrestlers already know this, but some of them are terrible. And when you get those good ones, just appreciate that more. Like, I've just learned so much, like, just looking back on all of that and just thinking, just enjoy the time. Just enjoy that time, because you will never have it back again. Like, you'll get to, let's say for example, I did make it to that big stage of WWE, of whatever it may be. I may not, but let's say I did get to that stage. I wanted to look back on that and feel positive about my journey more than anything else. And then, rather than getting there and thinking now I can enjoy myself, I'm sure I will, if I end up getting there. But just look at, I don't want to say that for 7 years I was so bitter about all this stuff. It's exhausting as well. Do you not find it's exhausting to think about these things like, oh, I'm not where I want to be or whatever it is? Just enjoy that process. It's exhausting to think otherwise. And I think it's doing yourself a disservice, because having that as your mindset can impact so many other things in your day. I'll go into that on another podcast, but that was really, really, that was a really, really big, important lesson to me. And then having that made me want to read The Art of Happiness. And I spoke a little bit about this book with Kanji on episode 3. You can check that out. And also, if you've not left a review yet, please leave a review. If you've made it this far, I'm sure you're enjoying it. Or either that, you're hating me, or you're hating the sound of my voice, but whatever. But yeah, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, drop a comment on YouTube, and share it as well. That'll really help me out. Anyway, The Art of Happiness taught me a lot as well. Like, I'll summarize it very quickly. It's a great book. I'd recommend it. Can get a little bit repetitive at times, but it is a very good book. One thing I learned about the art of happiness is what the Dalai Lama explained. It was compassion, being compassionate towards others. That was, I already knew, like, I wanted to be a good person and things like that. I wanted to make sure that I was giving and, like, making sure that other people were taken care of, or whatever it was, or just being a kind person to anybody. As much as I think that was me, it probably wasn't. Sorry, I'm burping because of all the water that I'm having. But yeah, I just wanted to be more kind and things like that. And that was my mindset before reading the book. And then I read the book and I realized there's so much more I could be doing, like, to make sure that I'm happy. But then also a big correlation as to why people are happy is because they're compassionate towards others. This was a study as well in Western society. And it's crazy to see that just by giving to other people, selfishly, it makes you feel good, right? And that's genuine. Maybe that's a bit of pleasure, but it's also happiness as well. And I'll get into pleasure, what pleasure is and what happiness is, because it's not the same thing. But learning that from the Dalai Lama, just being more kind, more compassionate, giving, just making sure that you're giving to other people will make you feel good, and you'll just become more happy as well. Like, how many times do you have a good day and just willing to talk to everybody? Like, some of the introverts, maybe not. I'm a little bit of both, extrovert and introverted, but I find the days that I'm having a good day and I feel like I'm on top of the world, I'm happy to share that with everybody. Like, I'm really, really happy, and I want to make sure that other people are having a good day as well. And I think that really hit home with me with The Art of Happiness, just trying to ensure your compassionate levels are much higher. Like, you're just being a lot more kind, more than anything else. That was definitely the main key takeaway from the book, but it explains so many of the things as well. I definitely recommend it. In that book as well, it explains pleasure versus happiness. And that's a really, really big thing as well, because a lot of people think they're the same thing. And I'll go into it very quickly. So pleasure could be well, related to online shopping, because a lot of people are doing that during COVID, including myself. Online shopping, you see a sale, whatever, bang, there's your first dopamine hit. You order it, bang, another dopamine hit. Then you get it to your house, another dopamine hit. You open it. You may use it for a couple of days, couple of weeks at most. Then it's a normal thing in your life, right? That's the pleasure side of it. And pleasure could be like having sex as well. That's like, obviously it's a very pleasurable thing, but that's pleasure. It's not happiness, right? So happiness is a whole different feeling. You get that from other things, like doing more wholesome things, like doing the things that you love, doing, being more compassionate, being kind and things like that. Like all those things you get out of happiness. You're investing in yourself. That's where the happiness comes from. It's not due to the pleasure of buying new clothes, pleasure of ordering new things, pleasure of like all those little things where you're getting that little dopamine hit of whatever it is. Another pleasure thing is Instagram, Facebook. This is a thing in The Social Dilemma. It's on Netflix. Very good documentary. You get that dopamine hit from the rush of likes that you get, or someone telling you you've done a nice thing, or even so. An example would be you know, there's like there's a lot of Instagram pages where they'll give you like a quote, like some sort of random quote with a sick picture in the back, and then saying something like "just believe in yourself" or whatever. I feel like I've just explained myself basically, but sorry. No, they'll give you a quote, they'll give you a sick picture behind it, and the whole reason for that is it's so quick to double tap. And the reason they're giving you that sick quote with that sick picture or whatever it is purely because it'll give you that dopamine hit of pleasure, right? You're getting that pleasure hit because you've just seen something that maybe relates to you or whatever it is. But that's purely because of pleasure. The reason why they do that is so you double tap and like it. That gives them a dopamine hit, gives you a dopamine hit because it made you feel better, right? That's all pleasure. And then happiness is just so different because it's a feeling. It's a feeling of waking up every day and loving what you do. Imagine waking up on a Monday and loving what you do. That's happiness. That's real happiness there. Spending time with your friends, spending time with your loved ones, anything like that. That is actual happiness. Those moments where you're just really, really enjoying yourself. Like I'm probably butchering the explanation, but hopefully that explains a little bit more as to why pleasure and happiness are so different. You can read that a little bit more in The Art of Happiness, but it explains it so well. And these things where you want to make yourself feel better, sure, it'll make you feel better for like 5 seconds once you've ordered that thing. Not even 5 seconds, maybe like a little bit longer than that. But what I'm saying is that's not what's going to make you happy. You need to be working on yourself, and that's what really makes you happy. And if you don't know what that is, you've just got to try loads of new things. People that are a little bit lost in life and whatever it is, maybe I'm a bit lost, maybe like all of this stuff is a bit stupid, but the way I think about it is if you're lost, you need to do the things that really, really make you happy. And to find that out, you've just got to try loads of stuff. Just do anything, literally just try everything. If you have a remote interest in, I don't know, chess, for example, join like a chess club or something like that. Do it online, whatever it is. If you have a remote interest in traveling, go and book that flight. Just go out and do it. Like all those things. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. Who the fuck cares? You know what I mean? Like it's literally been like, I don't know, you may have spent like a couple £100 on it, or you may have wasted maybe a few days. But to me, that's not wasting it. You're finding more out about yourself. Like, that's the way I see it. I see these things. Like, invest that time in yourself, regardless of if it worked or not. And if it's not your thing, at least you know yourself a little bit better. And then you're definitely more on your way to becoming happier. Again, I'd recommend The Art of Happiness. It explains it a lot better than I am now. But just trying all those new things, trying anything, that's time invested in yourself. And you may not get that anywhere else. Everyone's like, you need to invest in stocks, mortgages, properties, for example, stocks, mortgages, shares, whatever, high investment, like just high investment banks, and whatever it is, right? Everyone's telling you to invest in all these things to make money. Great, do that, whatever. Where's the time to invest in yourself? When do you invest in yourself? Like doing those things to make sure that you're happy. You could be doing all those things. You could have millions in the bank, but you may not be happy because you've got all the money. But now what? you've not really invested in your own character. And I think that was something that I learned in 2020, like invest outside of my wrestling career. That was the thing, like I just make sure that things are very good in your life in all aspects. Wow, I've hit 50 minutes. I find that mad. I didn't even think I'd hit 20. So this is, I must really like the sound of my own voice. There's so much more I wanted to cover, but I feel like I'm probably rambling a little bit now. But I hope you took away some good lessons from myself here. Just some of the lessons that I learned in 2020, I learned a lot more. I didn't think that I was able to hit 50 minutes. But if you did enjoy this, please let me know, because then I can do another one. I'm still testing out what's working and what's not on this podcast. So yeah, please let me know if you enjoyed it. I won't go any further because I feel like I'm either rambling or the listener mark doesn't want to go past that time. But yeah, please leave a review if you haven't done so already. Apple Podcast, maybe on Spotify, drop a comment on YouTube. It's on other podcast platforms as well, like Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, wherever you're listening on. Drop a review. Drop me a DM. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like. Put it on your story and I'll repost it. Tag picking_brains_pod or tag me, Harry Singh Pro. Just make sure you leave a review, guys, please. It really, really does help, especially because I want to get bigger guests on as well. And they're going to look at the reviews and see if it's worth their time and see if people are enjoying it. So please, please, please do that. I don't know what else to plug, really. I'm hoping you guys are enjoying these episodes. So yeah, again, please let me know. And let me know who else you guys want to see on. I've got a few more guests planned. I don't want to make this purely a wrestling podcast. I want you guys to see what I talk about with these guys and the similarities between them in terms of doing what they love. That's really what I want this podcast to be, just making sure you do what you love. Like, hopefully you take little plugs from this, just little tips just to make yourself that little bit better, or just finding something you're a little bit more passionate about. That's really, really where I want to go with this. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in today. As I said, I wish I could have talked about more, but apparently I speak a lot because I hit a lot of my points in I say a lot, some of my points, and we already hit 52 minutes now. So yeah, thank you guys if you made it this far and listened to it. And yeah, I will see you in the next episode. Thanks, guys.